स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Dear friends, Prabuddha Bharata published an editorial under the title How to Lose Our Ego and Find Compassion. I would like to speak about that subject, outlining salient features of that article editorial published in June 2021 issue of Prabuddha Bharata. The Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam Maitra Karuna Yevacha Nirmamo Nirahankaraha Samadukha Sukakshami. The translation goes like this: He who is not hateful towards any creature, who is friendly and compassionate, who has no idea of mine and idea of egotism, who is same under the sorrow and happiness, who is forgiving, is dear to me. One point comes out, an important point comes out of this teaching of Sri Krishna. We should not have any hatred towards anyone. We should maintain a friendly attitude and be compassionate. And there should not be any idea of I and mine. Here I means egotism. So the lesser the ego, more the feeling of compassion comes from our heart. Ego is antagonistic to compassion. It is a lifetime work to shed ego and develop compassion. Now we shall discuss what is meant by ego. In Sanskrit, ego is called ahankara. It is the I-ness. But ahankara is not the real I according to Vedanta. Ahankara is only one of the mental states. So Vedanta says mind has got four functions. One is the mana, the deliberating function. Second one is the buddhi, determinating function. Chitta, the storage of impressions, the cause of memory. And lastly, ahankara, where the sense of I comes out. It is not the real I, it is an illusory I, Vedanta says that. What is the real I? The real I is the self or Atman, which is the witness of all the mental modification. The egotism or ahankara is one of the modifications along with mana, buddhi, chitta, but the real Atman, I, is the witness consciousness. It is the consciousness which is witnessing and giving the light of consciousness to all these mental functions. So, what is egotism or ahankara? According to Vedanta, it is the identification with body as one's own self. When I say I am not identifying with Atman, the real I am identifying with my body or mind or intellect. It is a wrong kind of identification. It is an illusion. So this is what is called ahankara or egotism in Vedanta. Why we develop ahankara? Ahankara is due to misunderstanding or avidya or ignorance. What is that misunderstanding? instead of identifying myself with the real I, Atman, the source of consciousness, knowledge, pure bliss, and pure existence, I identify with my body. Sometimes I think I am body. Sometimes I think a body belongs to me. This is what is egotism. Some other times I identify myself with the mind. I am hurt. I am suffering. I am happy. The happiness, misery, and suffering, all these are conditions of the mind. I don't make any difference between myself, Atman, and the mental functions like suffering, etc. Then I would feel I am happy. In the same way, I identified with Buddhi also. It is I who decide. This is I am opting for. This kind of discriminating function, discernment function, also belongs to mind. So all these mental functions, I am not able to differentiate my Atman with those mental functions. This is the cause of egotism, wrong identification. And it is also an example of superimposition. The common example given for superimposition or adhyasa in Vedanta is a snake is seen on the rope. Rope is the real stuff, but what we are seeing is the snake. That means the snake is superimposed on the rope. In the same way, what happens in egotism or ahankara is Atman, the sense of I, the real I, is superimposed on the anatman, body, mind, etc. We are not able to differentiate the real I, the Atman, and the false I, the body mind complex. That's why ahankara acts like I in empirical matters, though it is not the real I. So when my body is hurt, I say I am hurt. When the mind is suffering, I say I am suffering. So in all empirical matters, whenever we use the I, it is not the real I this word I is pointing towards. This I, the word, in empirical affairs or empirical matters is always pointing towards the egotism, which is not at all there. Egotism is just an illusion, a superimposition of Atmic idea, I-ness, on the Anatman, the body-mind complex. It is only a product of avidya. As there is no snake which is seen on the rope, and there is no such thing as egotism or I which is superimposing on the real I. The real I is superimposed on the ahankara. So we are not able to differentiate between these two. And Swami Vivekananda says, whether it is ego or non-ego, both are products of the body-mind complex. And there is a beautiful quotation here. Then there is the mind itself. It is like a smooth lake which, when struck, say by a stone, vibrates. The vibrations gather together and react on the stone. And all through the lake they will spread and be felt. The mind is like the lake. It is constantly being in certain vibration, which leave an impression on the mind. And the idea of ego or personal self, the I, is the result of these impressions. Or we have understood what is meant by egotism or ahankara in Vedantic terms. Now, coming to yoga of Patanjali, there is a word called asmita. It is also translated as ego. This is the direct effect of the ignorance, avidya, asmita. From asmita or egotism, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha come out. Raga means extreme attachment, dvesha means hatred, abhinivesha means or clinging to life or fear of death. So the yoga says ignorance is the breeding ground of all the evils: ego, attachment, hatred, and fear. Here we have Swamiji's quotation once again from his famous Raja Yoga, where he says, we say, I am the mind, I am thought, I am angry, or I am happy. How can we be angry and how can we hate? We should identify ourselves with the self that cannot change. If it is unchangeable, how can it be one moment happy, one moment unhappy? It is formless, infinite, omnipresent. What can change? What can change it? It is beyond all law. So we know in clear terms what is egotism, ahankara, and what is the real I. Now, what are the adverse effects of the ego? So it can be understood in three realms. One is empirical, the another ethical and spiritual. In empirical terms, the sense of I precedes all our perceptions and experiences. So whenever I have an experience or a perception, I always precede that experience with my egotism. I have seen, it is mine, I have done it. These kind of usages, they are very common in our day-to-day life. Next, about the ethical. Ego is symbol of selfishness. The more egoistic we are, more often we are bound to be unethical. So ethically also egotism has its own adverse effects. And spiritually, as we have already seen, it is the limited or the wrongful idea of I, the wrong identification with the body and mind. So it is spiritually also has got adverse effects. In fact, it is the most basic or the fundamental impediment to discover our own real I, the real nature, that is Atman or Brahman, the Satchidananda. The ahankara, the egotism, leads to mamakara, the possessiveness. So ego is an obstacle in the spiritual journey, and the ego manifests in the form of fear, anxiety, etc. This fear and anxiety, these thoughts have no basis other than the egoism or egotism. The egotism has itself no basis, as we have already seen. From the illusory idea of egotism, the imaginary mental images of fear and anxiety come out. They have no correspondence to actual reality. In the emotional level also, this egotism becomes a boundary to the expanding love and compassion. It restrains us. It restrains or contracts us to our own family, our own individual being, etc. Now, what is compassion then? Compassion means feeling of oneness with others. It is not just sympathy or empathy. And Gita says, Sarva Bhutastam Sarva Bhutani Chatmani, seeing the same Atman, oneself, in every being and also and all beings in oneself. This is the real definition, real compassion. So the love and concern towards others flow very naturally when we are able to see every one of them with the same sightedness. I am Atman and I am seeing Atman everywhere. Every being is Atman and Atman alone. The common factor here is Satchidananda. I am of the nature of Satchidananda, and all living beings, the whole world is but the manifestation of Satchidananda, pure existence, pure knowledge or awareness or consciousness and pure bliss. And this alone can be the sources of compassion. And this is our spiritual ideal. You know, the compassion is something inherent in us because we are all Atman. Essentially, our inherent nature is Atman, but the ego is something external. It doesn't belong to us. It is a illusion. It is just the identification with the body and mind, a wrongful misunderstanding. It is just an imagination. And how to reduce ego? There are 5 methods of reducing ego. One is the Upanishadic method. We should discover the true I, the Atman. With the discovery of pure I, the Atman, the awareness, all the illusory ideas like egotism will vanish. This is the first method, the Upanishadic method. The path of devotion. The path of devotion is surrendering our ego to God. There are 2 kinds of willpower or will. One is God's will and my will. I should surrender or I should submit my own will to the God's will. And this lowering of our will in front of the God's will help us to sublimate our ego and we become the instruments in the hands of God. Because everything, whether it is misery or happiness, come from God. We are just mere instruments of God. The third method is the yoga method of concentration and work. Concentration and selfless work will give us purity of mind. That pure mind reflects the real I, the divine self, Atman, within, and the covering of ego gradually disappears. And Swami Vivekananda calls it as killing of selfishness. Only by killing the selfishness we become happy. It will make us happy. The fourth method is Sri Ramakrishna's method. And Sri Ramakrishna uses 2 terms in Bengali, Pakka Ami and Kacha Ami. Kacha Ami is ignorant ego, unripe ego, a strong and all-pervasive ego. So we should make it, we should transform it to ripe ego. What is ripe ego? Servant ego. I am the servant of the Lord. I am the servant of the God. And ego of knowledge. And it is the submissive ego, submissive to the Supreme Lord or the God. Next we come to Sri Ramana Maharshi's method. You know, Ramana Maharshi is a great scientist who had the Advaitic experience, and he gives a pragmatic method of self-inquiry. He asks a devotee to find out who is really suffering. Devotee requested him to give a solution for his suffering. What Sri Ramana did is to, to ask him to inquire about who is suffering and why. Who is suffering really? It is not I. I am not suffering. Either body is suffering or mind or intellect, but I am not suffering. When I go about searching for who is suffering, the suffering will cease. It is all false I that is suffering, Ramana Maharshi says. So the discovery of real I will lead us to eternal happiness and bliss. And Ramana says, the I, the pure I, is in itself. The false I is the thoughts, or in the form of thoughts. The mental thoughts are false I. The pure I doesn't have any thoughts. And the spiritual practice, is really the process of dissolution of ego. And when the ego is dissolved, what fills in its place is the love of God. That is the life work, that is the spiritual progress we have to aim for. Again, Gita says, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. One who sees me everywhere, one who sees everyone, everything in me. And this is the real yardstick, standard for being compassion. That compassion can be achieved only through dissolving, losing our ego. And this is the subject matter of editorial we have published in June 2021 issue of Prabuddha Bharata. I request all of you to go through that and subscribe for this great journal started by Swami Vivekananda in 1896 and get blessed by the spiritual teaching it is conveying for more than a century. Thank you very much.